So that's why grief, that's why loss hurts so bad, because we are being stripped in that moment of what we are created to do. We're created to love. That's the difference between us and the animals. That's the difference between us and the plants and the birds of the air and the fish of the sea. They don't love like we do. But we love like we do because we are made in the image of our Father, who is love. Hallelujah. Hello, hello. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Erica and this is the Love Project. If you are new here, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Like, comment, and subscribe. Ring that bell so that you can get the notifications for when I drop a new video. We drop a new video every week. So be sure to ring that bell and come back and check us out. If you have not, you can go and catch up on all the other videos. We discuss some awesome topics, but the main thing we like to discuss here is love. We not called the Love Project for nothing. We visit all things love. Love of God, love with family, friends, relationships, spouses, marriage, and even preparing for marriage. So again, be sure to join the Love Squad and be a part of what's going on here. Alright? So, we're going to get started. I'm not going to hold y'all. I'm jumping straight in today. So today we pretty much want to talk about loving and losing, because we all have love and we all have loss. And you know, a lot of times we have different I guess definition of what it is to love, let alone what it is to lose, right? So we'll pretty much start off with just losing a good relationship. So I believe we all been in a position where, you know, we messed up, right? We've all been in a position where we have met good people. We've had good relationships, and for whatever reason we possibly lost or missed out or messed up some good relationships. And I think this happens to both men and women, because you can just be in a space or place where you are just not ready. You can be immature. You can be just in a mental space, you know, in a heart space where you really can't fully receive what that person is bringing to the table, and just that season of love. I feel like this happen often with men and women younger, in their younger years. So as we know, women, we look for love, and I don't feel like it's a big thing now, at least not in society. But when I was growing up, like, we had R&B, you know, we had all these love movies. So you, as a young girl, you wanted that fairy tale, you wanted that love story. So when you know, fell in love with the first guy, which they call puppy love, you know, you was all in, right? And you wanted to do life. You was already picturing your wedding and how many children y'all was gonna have. I remember I used to be writing my name with their last name and all. This was in high school, child. This was in middle school. Listen, I done had a few last names before I got to the Shields, because I was making preparations, you hear me? So, you know, we do that, but a lot of times those boys ain't in that space. They not there. And so, you know, we can give our all and we can go so hard in those relationships, and the timing could just be off. And I'm more than sure a lot of those boys who are now men that have matured can look back on their life and be like, man, you know, this person, she was a good girl, you know, she was smart, she had her head on straight and all these things, and they possibly, you know, missed out on good women. And again, vice versa. So some of the things that cause us to miss out, or to kind of just mess up some good relationships is fear. A lot of times we don't want to believe that, you know, a person is as good or as healthy as they present themselves. You know, a fear of being hurt, depending on how you grew up, different things you've seen. Fear has a way of causing you to miss out or sabotage, right, a good relationship. And that happens often. Insecurities is a big one that will cause us to really mess up some good relationships. You know, having those trust issues, having those commitment issues. You'll meet somebody, they'll be a good person, you might date even for a couple of years, but they want more and you're not willing to fully commit, you're not willing to fully give them what they're asking of you, and there you go, the relationship has ended because this person have to do what's best for them. And you find yourself a few years down the line looking back and you realize you done messed up, you know, a good relationship. And the key is, you know, just understanding that we not perfect, right? I think we all have a person, or even, and again, we're talking about relationships, but friendships, right? Business relationships. You can look back and really see that you passed up on opportunities of good relationships because of the space and the place and the time that you was in. So we not perfect, you know, you have to acknowledge that. Another key is learning to learn from those situations and move forward and do it right the next time. Recognize those qualities in a person the next time and be like, you know what, I'm gonna lock this thing down, right? So you have to learn from that. And another thing is just be understanding that sometimes you the villain in somebody else's story. You know, a lot of times we like to focus on what a person did to us and how a person hurt us and how, you know, I'm the prize and you missed out. But sometimes you the villain. Sometimes you the villain and you have to acknowledge that, right? So, yeah, that's one of the main things. Like, you know, we love and we lost, and sometimes we lose really good people, really good relationships, and relationships that have potential to be so much more in our life. But again, the key is to learn from that and be able to move forward and get it right the next time. I feel like I see that a lot with men. You know, they'll be jacked up and they'll jack up a really good relationship and unfortunately a really good woman, but then you'll see them down the line and they married in 3 months, right? Because a lot of times, and it's not to say that, you know, that person in that time was right, you know, it's going to work, but that man has decided, I'm not gonna play myself again, right? They recognize that this woman is a good woman, that she have something to offer for his life, for his future, and he just go ahead and lock it down. So, you know, we see this all the time. Unfortunately, I feel like for women, we dwell on it more. So, for instance, if you have a good man and for whatever reason you miss out or you know, damage a good relationship, you'll dwell on it more and actually not move forward or just be hoping and wishing that the thing come back around. I wouldn't suggest that because life goes on, and you know, it's really hard to pick up those pieces once the damage is done. So that will bring me into the next phase of what I will call loving and losing, and that's breakups, right? So breakups is a part of life. Listen, I don't know many people that haven't experienced a breakup, but breakups are hard. Breakups are hard, even if you're the person that's leaving, right? You know, it's once you've committed, once you've decided that this is what you're gonna do, whatever that relationship may look like, it is hard to then let go, right? It's hard to even come to the conclusion that this ain't working for me, this is no good for me, and then to just have that departure. And listen, heartbreak my goodness, that thing hurt, and so that's why I would consider breakup a love and a loss, because at one point in time you was all butterflies, you was all in love with this person, and whatever may have occurred in that time, when you break, when that relationship break, you feel that loss, and that heartbreak is a lot of times hard, to get over. And sometimes we give our all to a situation that we know like just isn't right for us, right? So you have to come to that place where you just like, look, I can't do this, or whatever that look like. And sometimes it just don't work, right? Sometimes it just don't work. I do feel like the more time you put in, the harder breakups are. But um you know they happen, I remember, like, I would say I had my first real serious relationship, and child, I was in love, you hear me, in love. And I just never like saw it ending, and it was one of those situations where we literally grew apart. um I dated him right out of high school, so it was, I was becoming a woman while in the relationship, and so much in my life was like changing, and I realized that we wasn't on the same page, and I realized that the relationship didn't have any substance. It was fun. We looked good together. We used to go out and all this stuff, but when it came to life, when it came to goals, when it came to deeper things like a vision and what our future looked like, it wasn't there. And so I really had to come to a place and was like, I can either waste more time or I can move on. And sure enough, I moved on, and man, I'm happy I did. Because later in life, the situation tried to come around again, and when I tell you nothing about his life had changed, it was like he was time warped, and I was like, all of this stuff that happened in my life, and so much had done changed for me, and I had changed, as a person, as a woman. And so, again, sometimes it just don't work out, and that's fine, but there is still a loss there. And sometimes you have to really like battle that thing and let go of what's hurting you. So when you're talking about abusive relationship, when you're talking about, and abuse is anything, physical, mental, emotional, spiritually, you name it, right? People have had a million different experiences with abuse. Some people could abuse you financially. Like, you have men who will take care of you, and just because they take care of you, they feel like they can do anything, cheating on you, just running you through the mud, you name it, right? So people go through so many different situations, and in those type of situations, you have to come to a place where you like, look, I'm not about to do this, and then you break up. But how many of you know that just because it's not good for you don't make the breakup easy? That is crazy, right? The fact that this is not beneficial to me, I'm unhappy, I'm, sad, I'm insecure, I have trust issues, I don't believe you, you lie all the time, and all these things. And even those relationships, breakup is not easy, right? Because there is a tearing on the heart. And so you can't allow breakups to bring you back to what's not good for you. You can't allow breakups to make you lose faith in loving again, right? Because breakup after breakup will definitely do some damage, and there is healing required. And a lot of times we don't do that, and we find ourselves pretty much in the same type of relationship with a different face. So we that's not what we want. We want to heal, we want to do love right. We're gonna have our mess ups, we're gonna have our hiccups, we're gonna have our breakups, we're gonna have our heartbreaks, but we have to come to a place where we like, okay, how do I get that love I've been desiring, that love I deserve, and that love I've been believing for, right? So that's pretty much, what this about. Just one, letting you know that we all love, we all lose in love, and how to get back up and how to get back out there again, but how to do it right. Right, we want to do it right, and we want to do it different, because we can't do the same thing and expect different results. That's insanity, and we ain't doing that. Listen, we ain't playing. And it's just in this season of our lives, like, ain't nobody got time for that. You hear me? Ain't nobody got time to be playing around. And it's so sad, because baby, the date pool, is is a mess out there. And I know, because it was a mess when I was out there, and honestly, sometimes it look like it's getting worse. But I'm believing. I'm believing for you. I'm believing for you that, there's somebody out there. Because one thing that always kept me hopeful is, I'm like, okay, I'm a good person. I'm trying. I'm preparing. I'm praying. I'm getting my life together. I ain't the only one. I can't be the only one, Lord. So that is what gave me hope, that if I'm doing the work, there has to be a man out there for me that's doing the work too. And at some point, our paths will cross. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. So, keep hope alive. You hear me? And another thing about the little breakup situation is, breakups will reveal soul ties. Let me tell you. When you break up with a person, that's when you really get to see soul ties are real. Because this person no good for you. You don't need to be with them. They this, they that. They jacked up, or they bring the worst out of you, and all these different things. But yet, once y'all broke up and they trying to get back and all this stuff, how come you only can remember the good? When you missing them, how come you can only remember the good about this person? And I'm like, see me, baby, I will write a list quick. This person did this person did that. So I don't give them no pass. So I don't, listen, the Bible said that the heart is deceitful. And it is. It very much is. If you think about a relationship, if you think about a breakup that really kept pulling at you, one is a soul tie. And two, your heart is deceiving you, making you believe that the love and the good outweigh the bad. And a lot of times, if you left this person, if you broke up with this person, if it was a, horrible relationship, it wasn't. But the heart will fool you into missing that person to the extent where you almost forget everything they done. I see women all the time, and I'm like, girl, don't forget. And don't get me wrong, it's not to harbor, bad memories of this person and none of that, but it's to be real with yourself and be like, no, he cheated on me. No, he abused me. No, he never wanted to communicate. He will lie all the time. Like, you have to be real with yourself. But no, all you think about is, I remember we used to go on a trip, and I remember when we used to do this, and I remember when we used to do that. Yeah, but do you remember when you was crying all night because he didn't come home? Do you remember when you used to be calling his phone and you couldn't get him, and then he called back 2 days later? Baby, don't forget that part. So you have to be real with yourself and understand, why am I pulling back at this and I know it's no good for me? Why I'm pulling back at this and I know that this time needs to be the last time that I'm done with this, right? It's that soul tie. And so you got to renounce that thing, pray that thing off, and be able to heal, to move on and move forward. And because another thing about breakups is, it's all good while you're single. But baby, when you get you somebody, oh, they come back with a vengeance. When I got engaged, baby, they came out like roaches. I said, who are you and where you come from? I used to talk to you in middle school, baby. Where you come from? No. You hear me? I mean, I had guys literally was like, don't marry him, marry me. I'm like, marry you? Baby, we never marry you. Listen, this is what people do. When y'all break up, it could be years. Long as you single and you whatever, they might flirt or whatever, but for the most part, they living their life, minding their business. And now you with somebody, you happy, or life is booming for you, and here they come out the woodworks. We ain't doing none of that. And that's why healing is necessary. And that's why I'm mentioning the part about the heart being deceitful, because I don't want you to fall into the traps of the enemy. The enemy come to steal, kill, and destroy. So he's going to, they see you happy, they coming to steal that joy, right? They see, you prospering and you have a good relationship. They want to destroy that thing, right? Any way they can. So you have to be mindful, So I'm gonna leave that be. But soul ties is real, and breakups is a part of life. But you have to be able to move forward from that. But to go into the next, I guess, phase of loving and losing is grief. Now this one is really really heavy. I've experienced a love and a loss and a grief, but honestly, we all experience love and loss when it comes to grief, because guess what? Grief don't miss nobody. Everybody experienced this, and honestly, if you have not, keep on living, baby. Keep on living, because every segment of our life, a person we love at some point passes away. So grief, is a part of life. And I always say that grief is, how they have like faith and fear. So if you're not operating in faith, you're operating in fear, right? I always say, when you're operating in grief, it's because it's the loss of a love. So grief is the absence of a person you love, right? So it's just it's a painful experience, but the thing is, nobody is exempt. Nobody is exempt. You're talking kids. Kids grieve. Um, you have parents grieve. You have spouses grieve. You have friends grieve. I mean, I've lost people, and it done a toll on me, honestly. But I've learned so much in that process. And grief is a heartbreak that none of us, we can't escape it. It's really a part of life. But again, the idea is to provide hope that you can get through this thing, that you can survive this thing. It happens in all ages and stages of our lives. Um, I remember my first experience was with grief was my sister lost her friend, and I had to be about 12, maybe, young girl. I had to be probably like 12 or 13, and she was a young girl. She was hit by a car, and man, this little girl used to be at our house every day. She was like another little sister. She used to get on my last nerve, and I would run her out of our house all the time. And guess what? She would come right back. And so it was just one of those situations. And when that happened, I was like, oh my goodness. I mean, I was so heartbroken. And of course, like I said, I was like 12 or 13, so I didn't understand the heaviness of it. But I remember it like it was yesterday. So I remember that heartbreak and that loss, and I remember that feeling of a person being here and not seeing them again, right? And of course, with time, that increase. I ended up losing a good friend of mine when I was 14. We was really good friends. We used to sit outside and talk all night. My mom used to work overnight, and we would hang out and talk on the porch all night. I always been a night owl because, baby, I don't do no morning. You hear me? So, my mom used to work overnight, and, I had to watch the house and stuff, and we would sit on the porch and we were running all night. And he was a really good friend of mine. I used to actually talk to his brother, which was his twin. And so we was just we was really good friends, and he ended up getting killed in New Orleans. Young boy, he was only 14 years old. He was killed, and man, that ate me up. A big part of what happened is not only was I grieving a friend, but there was a lot of guilt tied to that grief, because, like I mentioned, we would sit out and we would talk all night. But on this particular night, I told him I was tired. He came, knocked on the door, and was like, "Oh, you're coming out, whatever." And I was like, "No, I'm tired. I'm tired tonight." Um, he was like, "Man, come out." And I was like, "No, I'm tired. Like, I won't come out tonight." And I just remember him like he was saying, "Bye, Erica, bye, Erica," and I'm like, "Bye." Bye, Erica, bye. And he was so, goofy. We used to call him Goof, but he just always wanted to play, and he was like, "Bye," and bye, and I'm like, "Bye, bye," or whatever, whatever. And literally, it had to be probably a good three 3 or 4 hours later. I was laid in the bed. That's the thing. I laid in the bed. I told him I was tired. I laid in the bed, and I did not go to sleep, and I couldn't sleep, right? And I just remember seeing flashing the police. And so I went outside, and I saw the police and everything on the corner. And sure enough, it was my friend who was killed. And I had so much heaviness and guilt on top of the loss. And that was really, really hard to deal with. That was actually one of the first times I started writing. So, I like to express, obviously, I do these videos, but when I can't express how I feel per se, I will write, and just be able to get that out. And that's when I started writing, because I was trying to process that pain. I was trying to process that guilt and that heartbreak and that grief. So again, and I can go on and on about the different losses that I've had and my experiences with grief. And again, grief is at stages and ages of your life, and you have to know how to move forward from that. One of the biggest things we discuss here is the fact that before being married, the person I was dating was killed, and so that was heavy. I mean, I always remember, I will never forget that cry. There is a cry associated with grief that is like no other. I can hear a person cry and know that that's a grief cry. And but the good part about it is, and I was telling my husband this, because we, like church people always say, Jesus wept, Jesus wept. But no, Jesus grieved. And I feel like we skip over that a lot when we read that story. So for those that are not familiar, Jesus had a friend named Lazarus. Lazarus died, right? Now later in the story, Jesus ended up raising Lazarus from the dead. Because why? Listen, he be resurrecting, Hello, Jesus. He be resurrected. So he raised Lazarus from the dead, but Lazarus had been dead 4 days before Jesus came to resurrect him. But when he got there, he cried. He grieved and he mourned his friend dead. And I feel like the significance of that is because, a lot of times we talk about how Jesus is literally God in the flesh, and he was in the flesh for a reason, because he empathizes with us. He know what it feels like to grieve. He know what it feels like to love. He know what it feels like to have a friend. He know what it feels like to be betrayed, by a friend. He know these things. Like, he know this walk of our lifestyle, right? At the time, before Jesus came in the flesh, God is a spirit. So he knew, because he made us, but it's different to experience it, right? So God in the flesh as Jesus experienced the walk of human life, and why it's so hard to do right when wrong is right in front of you, and why it's so hard to, move on after losing somebody you love, and, the pain of grief, right, in the human experience. Now again, God knows all things, but there is something about the human experience that God came to experience with us so that he can identify, right, what we feel and what we go through from our point of view. So, I ain't here to preach, but you gotta be reading the word. So anyway, Jesus wept and Jesus grieved, right? But I think the gift in that is he wept and he grieved in that moment, but he knew, hallelujah, he knew he was gonna see Lazarus again. He knew that he was about to raise Lazarus from the dead, that it wasn't over, right? And so that's what I want to get through to you today on this video, that it's not over. We lose people we love. We experience grief. It is heavy. It is hard. It is painful. But you can get through it. God can heal your heart. The Bible said that the Lord is near to the brokenhearted and he saves those that's crushed in spirit. Listen, we all love, we all lose, but we all got a God that can help us through, whether it's a breakup, whether it's, a mistake we made where we lost out on somebody, whether it's, losing a child, losing a friend, losing a family member, losing a parent, right? Losing a spouse, losing what you would consider your future. That's how I felt when I lost my ex. This is the person I saw my life with. So when I lost him, in that moment, in that time, in that space, I lost my future, right? But God, he had other plans. Because my future is now. My future is still bright. My future is still happening. It's still manifesting. It's still becoming, right? So the key is pushing through. The key is learning from your past situations. The key is not allowing grief to get you stuck. Not allowing debt to steal your life. Do you know a lot of us, when people die, we go and lay down in that grave with them? What good? What good is it for their life to be over and yours too? You can't do that to yourself. You can't do that to yourself. Love is one of the best feelings in the world. That's why grief hurts so bad. When you love, think about a new relationship. Think about a new friendship. Think about when you have a baby, when you give birth. Think about your wedding day when you get married. Like, that feeling is beautiful. It's explosive, right? So love is one of the most beautiful gifts that God has ever given to man. And so that's why grief, that's why loss hurts so bad, because we are being stripped in that moment of what we are created to do. We're created to love. That's the difference between us and the animals. That's the difference between us and the plants and the birds of the air and the fish of the sea. They don't love like we do, but we love like we do because we are made in the image of our Father, who is love. Hallelujah. All right. So again, this video is just to encourage you that, one, you're not alone. We all loved at some point and we all lost. But the key is to continue to love, to get back out there, to learn from your past mistakes, to learn from other people's mistakes. Listen, experience don't have to be your teacher. Experience don't have to be your teacher. All you have to do is really work on you. Decide what you want your life to look like, every area Again, we ain't leaving nothing untapped. Every area. Decide how you want your work life to look. Decide how you want your friendships to look. Decide how you want your siblings and your family relationship and dynamics to look. Decide how you want your marriage to look, and do the work. Let's do the work, because we are so much better when we our best self, when we love properly, and when we give and love properly. So listen, put in the comment section if you have loved and lost, no matter what area it is. If it was a breakup, if it was grief, if put it in the comment section. Let me know I ain't alone, right? Let me know I ain't alone. And also just curate this community to let all the other watchers know, you're not alone, because a person could be going through these different feelings, these different experiences right now. So again, this video is just to build you up and let you know you're not alone. There is hope, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and that you can love again, and you can have the proper love. If you're in a situation and you even considering a breakup, just know this is not the end for you, right? So I hope you believe that, and I hope you receive that. So I'm not going to hold you. I'm going to see you next time. Love ya.